Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to our Reinforcing Conversations podcast with Nicole, Stewart, and Christina Torres. And we are behind the scenes right now with TikTok, and we are going to be talking about tips and things I wish I knew if you're new coming in the field. We're just going to dish out a ton of things for you guys to kind of consume.
Yes, and I'm Nicole, and this is Christina, and our Reinforcing Conversation Season 2 is made possible through support from the New England Center for Children. The New England Center for Children, for over 50 years, the worldwide leader in autism education and research. Through our schools, clinics, consulting services, and the ACE ABA software, we are shaping a more inclusive future for all. All right, welcome back, everyone. I feel like we are getting started talking about what we wish we knew getting into the field. This is for all of our RBTs. I think it's also going to be great, Christina, for parents who are getting started with
Yeah.
ABA services to know what people know. What do people go into the field with? What information? Like, what information are they equipped with when they start working with their kid? That
Yeah.
kind of stuff.
Or just like they may have just received an autism diagnosis, right? And it's like, what is ABA? Like, what is
Mm-hmm.
to expect and all that stuff.
Yep.
We'll dive in.
Yep. What did you say?
We'll dive into. We'll
Yeah.
touch on everything for the most part because you know how we like to yap about behavior.
Yeah, once we get started, it's gonna keep going. I feel like we're gonna need some behavioral momentum going, or like starting with the easier things to get to some harder things in my head. I feel like the caffeine's not kicked in yet.
I'm still defrosting, guys. I literally just got in. I'm in Connecticut, so it's like 12 degrees outside, and it takes a little bit for my office to warm up. But I
Yep.
feel like one of the easiest things to kind of start off with is like, oh, are you considering working in the field of ABA? Right? Like,
Yeah.
how would I know if the field of ABA I would be successful? And if you are new to the field, I would definitely say like the field is for you if you have patience.
Hmm.
If you have patience and you're very flexible and you're understanding, this will be a great field for you to come into.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think you also, I guess you don't have to work with kids in ABA, but you have to work with people.
Yes, you have to be.
So you have to like people, although I would say I don't like people, but like you have to like the people you work with and the population that you choose to work with.
Mhm, yeah. I started off with adults, and then I trickled down into early intervention, and then I'm like, "Oh, yeah, I love early intervention." It was
Yeah.
it fit my personality, it fit, like, my schedule, it was just you know how you mentioned, like, that big behavior momentum? Like, I was so motivated to support our friends all the time, and it
Mhm.
felt like it matched my personality, and the impact that I was making was so reinforcing for me.
Yeah.
I wanted to continue to do this, guys. So that's like, wow, what is this field? ABA? How do I, climb the ladder? And then I decided to go ahead and become a BCBA.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so great. I think that's like a really good point because I think a lot of people go into ABA and they start maybe in home and they're like, "Oh, I hate this."
Yeah.
And like can you talk about the different options of
Yep.
settings and populations?
Yes. So I got exposed to ABA in a school setting. So I worked in an elementary classroom and there was a BCBA and there was a sped teacher there and they worked the classroom together. It was like the most ideal exposure to ABA. And that's how I really fell in love. Right. And then I learned that you could do ABA in the home. So then I picked up a per diem in the home setting. And I'm telling
Mhm.
you guys, every environment is going to look different because it comes with different contingencies. Okay.
Yeah.
So then in the home, it was like more ADLs, a lot of, family building, if they have siblings, a lot of that relationship building. And then I learned that you could do ABA in the clinic. So then I left the school and then I went into the clinic. And like I said, there's pros and cons to every environment. But if you are new in the field, I would absolutely recommend you guys to get exposure to figure out which environment you kind of find real fitting for you, that you find most joy doing. And like I said, when I got in the field, I started working with adults and adolescents. It was an ABA, but I was still working in the field, right? And then I got into ABA, and that's where I was like, oh, I love this. How do I expand my skill set, and how can I work in different environments to figure out which environment I find most rewarding for me?
Yeah, I feel like there's so many different spaces and there's like different reinforcers for us as adults and employees
Yeah.
for BCBAs or RBTs or whatever, and just being in one, you have to figure out, there's all these variables that you have to figure out, right? Like, do you want to work with adults? Do you want to work in schools? Do you want to work with kids? Do you want to work in early intervention? Do you want to work in autism? Do you want to work like, there's so many different parts to ABA that exist in ABA
Mhm.
before you can kind of say like, oh, this isn't for me. I just feel like we're such a big field, even though the bulk of our treatment is with kids with autism. There's
Yeah,
so many things out there.
and also too, it really depends on you, right? Like, how much
Right.
support do you need? Are you the type of person that you work well by yourself and you're pretty like you can navigate different
Mm,
environments, right? Because if that's the case, then you might want to work in the home, right? Because in the home, you're not around other people. You're working by yourself until you see your BCBA. And the BCBA is not there every day. You see? Or, are you new to the field and you wanna, feel comfortable and, have questions that you have asked, like, go work in a clinic. There's multiple therapists there, there's more BCBAs present, it's more structured. You'll be able to kind of visually see other people running programs to see how they run it, so now you're learning, right? That way, so depending on how comfortable you feel coming into the field, you might wanna, like, start in the school or in the clinic, but if you're like, "Hey, I could definitely manage this and figure out as I go," then you could definitely pick up hours in the school in the home.
mhm,
2, there's another contingency, right? Some clinics, guys, some ABA therapists, companies, you might work 6 or 8 hours with one learner all day. Some
mhm.
have no more than 4-hour sessions. So that's also another variable. When you're interviewing, ask them, how long are the sessions with your clients? Are they split between two therapists? Is it just me working 36 hours with the learner all week long? Or, what are the hours that you have available? Because also our kids are in school. So sometimes a lot of them offer home services, which are in the PM, right? So
Right,
depending on your home culture and what you got going on in your personal life, maybe that works better for you because you have a different job or you're going to school during the day and you can only pick up hours at nighttime or on the
right,
week.
right. And I think so. I got my start. I think like what you were just saying, what resonated with me just now was how ABA is different in so many different places. I started working at the New England Center for Children, and I worked there for 2.5 years. It's like such a great place to get your start in the field because they have, and in a previous episode when we met with Chad, we spoke about this, where he said you want to be working at companies that are hiring year round. And New England Center for Children is one of these companies that is a well-oiled machine. They've figured out when staff are likely to leave because they've graduated or they're moving on, or they figured out their seasons and their ebb and flow of hiring processes, and they look for people year round because they know they have hundreds of employees. They
Hmm.
know. And then you start on specific hiring dates and you're well trained, you get a month of training, and then they do a whole course where, I don't know if they still do this. This was, almost 20 years ago. But I did a whole course in like ABA 101 with them. And it really, like, you get stepped out into different kids as you like master working with certain kids, you work with more kids, and then you can pick up overtime on other teams. And it's a really great place to learn. What I will say is that I thought everything New England Center for Children did, I was like, this is ABA. This is how your data sheets look. This is how your graphs look. This is how it looks. And then I went and I worked in a public school, and my classroom teacher had also worked in New England Center for Children. Because that's what happens when you're in Massachusetts. Like, I would say, let us know, reach out to us if you're in Massachusetts. Did you work at New England Center? Do you know someone who did? Probably. She had, but our BCBA didn't. And so the data sheets look different and the
Yeah.
graphs look different and the programming and the prompt hierarchies were different and the mastery criteria was different. And I was like, what is this? And it was my own like form of generalization because I didn't realize that at the time, I didn't realize that ABA was the science. I thought it was like all of these like
Standard.
technology. Yeah, these standard, like, these are the data sheets, like a curriculum almost. I like that's kinda, and you wanna know what? Sometimes I think ABA is, like, PR'd as a curriculum, which I feel like is, like, a problem, is that I feel like we, like, come across as a standardized type of thing,
Yeah, I can see what you're talking about.
but I actually think it's when you understand it's a science and when you've worked in multiple different spaces with multiple different types of learners and see the science and the principles applied,
Yes, it's the application.
that's yes. that's how you decide if it makes sense for you. I feel like that's when I was like, "Oh, now I'm taking all these principles I've learned and I'm applying them in a new setting with different kids in a different way, but I'm using the same, like, reinforcement makes their behavior more likely to occur." Or breaking a skill down leads to them chaining and learning this longer sequence, which is a task analysis. Like, I just feel like that was when it kinda, like, clicked for me of, like, this is what this is. And it takes multiple settings
Yeah.
and multiple supervisors and BCBAs and like, exposure to all these different places to, like, really get the science of ABA and then kinda choose who you want to apply it with, in what setting you wanna be able to apply it.
No, I love that you mentioned that, and you had said something earlier. You know how you say, "Oh, when you mastered a kid, then you went to, like, the next one?"
Yeah.
That's another thing too. If you're new in this field, you have to understand that we are working with a vulnerable population. And one of
Mhm.
the biggest components that we're supporting them is with functional communication, right? We're helping
Mhm.
them navigate their environment. We're helping them, express their wants and needs in a more effective way instead of engaging in maladaptive behaviors, right? So that's why you need to have a lot of patience because it's a shaping process. You're gonna be exposed to a lot of different behaviors. Like, you will most likely get scratched. There's gonna be bodily fluids, whether it's pee, vomit,
I
boogers,
know.
right?
Yep.
There's a lot of things that we have to be exposed to, and you have to understand it just comes with it. So if you're a person that's not a fan, then maybe this is not a environment that you would be, successful in because you have to understand it comes with the territory. And one of the things too is when it comes to supporting our learners, when it comes to maladaptive behaviors, we have to remain neutral. We have to help. What are we doing beforehand to help them navigate, right? Emotional regulation, priming, prompting, reducing the response offer for them to be successful, right? Building that intrinsic motivation in them, but also building a lot of rapport. And you never stop building rapport with your learners, right? I know sometimes like, oh, well, the first week we're building rapport. No, we're building rapport forever.
We're always building rapport with everybody. I feel like you're building rapport with your friends, everybody. It's a lifelong process. You don't just become friends with somebody and then you're like, "Boop, done."
Yeah.
Same with kids. It's the same with whoever you're working with.
But what I wanted to pick up too is like if you are coming new to the field and you might have a learner that has behaviors that you're uncomfortable with, you need to speak up. Tell your people,
Mhm.
"Well, I'm not really confident in supporting our friend right now." But also too, you don't want to limit yourself with exposure because, behaviors are going to occur, but once you implement the strategies and everything, then they should decrease, right? So don't kind of give up immediately if this learner bites. You know what I mean? Like there's just a lot of things to be mindful of when it comes into this field. To understand we are going to be supporting behaviors, and if you're not comfortable with a specific learner, try, but you can only try so much. I remember
Mhm.
with a learner for about 3 months, and I tried my best, but I had to ask to get removed from the case because I just did not feel confident and comfortable supporting them. You know
Good
what I
for
mean?
you.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a hard thing to do and to advocate for yourself. But I think that also brings me to my next thought, which is ABA is a newer field and it's still growing and we're still kind of finding our groove. Like the BACD standards are constantly changing. I feel like there's a lot of, we're still getting licensure in different states. There's a lot of movement and traction. And I think that that can cause, that's not for everybody. That's a space that's not for everybody. It can cause anxiety. Some people like to know there's a predictability and there's a schedule and there's a core, this is how it works no matter where I work. This is the training that I'm mandated to get, things like that. Like ABA still is finding its voice and still finding its place. And so it's not that well standardized. And so I think you have to also be willing to go with the growing pains of this field to be in it, but then to also recognize, like, oh, hey, I chose to work at big box ABA and that wasn't a good fit for me. That doesn't mean the whole field isn't a good fit.
Yes.
That means that big box ABA isn't a good fit for you. And if you're still passionate about the idea of the science or working with children, try a different setting. You don't have to give up. You don't have to say, like, this whole field isn't for you. And this is the same for parents too, is that, like, you work at it, you go, your kid, you sign up a kid because they're the first that returns your calls. Big box ABA returns your calls, gets you in. They got a well-oiled machine going that, like, is going to get you services as quickly as possible. and maybe they weren't the right fit. For a lot of families, they are, and for a lot, they're not. Try a different service provider. Try
Mhm.
a smaller service provider. Try a different type of services. Try a different level of services. You go to a doctor you don't like, it doesn't mean you don't go to doctors anymore. It means you don't
Yeah,
go
you
to
get a
that
second
doctor.
opinion, right? You get a second opinion, like,
Yeah, you go to a different doctor. So, like, it's the same, like, you don't like one agency or one company, you don't have to swear off the whole field forever.
mhm.
And I think, like, because of ABA's kind of instability in our growth, we've grown so rapidly. We're like a teenager growing so rapidly and so fast, we, like, can't keep up. I think that there can often be more discontent, and you have to put more intention into finding the right settings for yourself.
Yeah. I love that you said that too, because I stress that too. It's like if you're starting to get burnout and you're like losing the love for the field, right? It's like change your environment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Maybe that's what you literally need, but also too, people could get comfortable, right? Because think about all the different variables that you have to consider, right? Oh, well, I've been there for 2 years and the schedule aligns with my work schedule and, it's 5 minutes from my house. But like, what if you did find another company that maybe paid you extra a little bit more and it was 10 minutes on a road, but you have peace of mind because they're offering more support and mentorship.
Mhm.
It's a different setting and you have flexibility. You see what I mean? So sometimes you guys have to seek the uncomfortable to become comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay to evolve, right? And change your environments and even take a break.
Yeah. I saw a thing that was like, something about God, I feel like my brain is not working today. We're gonna do the best we can, but it was something about how a caterpillar becomes a butterfly. I'm so butchering this, and the process in which a caterpillar becomes a butterfly is not pretty. Like, think about how disgusting a cocoon is, right? It's disgusting. But, like, that's I feel like that's the process of, like, figuring out of outgrowing a space. Like, a caterpillar outgrows being a caterpillar, and it has to go through this process to become a butterfly. Gotta go through this process to figure if you're becoming comfortable and you're becoming complacent and you're feeling burnt out, you've outgrown you're not like, you're ready to not be a caterpillar anymore.
Yeah. Oh, that's a great analogy. Because just like the field is evolving, so are you.
Yes.
And then also too, guys, like if you're stressing too, like, oh, I don't get paid enough and they're not giving me a bonus, then leave. Right? It's like, okay, you've been there for 2 years, you have 2 years of experience, and maybe it's in one setting. Try a different setting because now you're gonna go to
Mhm.
a thing and you're coming with previous experience and exposure. So your price tag could go up.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly, and if it doesn't go up, it should. Like, with experience, you should be asking for more
Mhm.
money.
Yeah.
So, let's say I am a college student and I'm thinking I want to work with kids. Why ABA over occupational therapy or speech therapy or becoming a teacher?
That's a great question. See, like, I, like, fell into ABA by accident, right? And I just
Okay.
be in the space of BA. So I can't really say, like, "Oh, if I had had an opportunity to focus on speech, I probably would have navigated that." But, I mean, all these practices work differently, right? SLPs and OTs, they work 30 minutes, 45 minutes, maybe an hour with the client, but then they have, like,
Mhm.
8 clients, 12 clients a day, right? In ABA, you might have 2 clients a day. So
Mhm.
also too, it's like, well, what are the different pros and cons to every setting, right? Oh, you could work in a school, we could work in a school, we could work in a home, we could work on all these different um, environments. But also too, it's like we could work in a lot of different avenues outside of just supporting people. So if you're, considering going back to school and you're like, ooh, I love kids, what can I do? Definitely look into ABA as an option because it's a degree that you can generalize outside of just working with people.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Like, I feel like OT and SLP or teaching, all those can be limited. That you're kind of like in those spaces. Yeah, I think that they're different things. Like, I feel like if you're really into language, you could become a speech language pathologist or you could become a BCBA. Like, we do language as well. And I don't think that they're mutually exclusive.
They're just 2 different approaches of how you kind of support and see it.
Right. Right. I think I always say that I didn't know I fell into ABA like you did. And
Mhm.
I didn't know that the other that related services, like, I didn't know about. I mean, I had a friend who went to speech therapy because she had a stutter when we were kids, but I didn't really know what a speech therapist was,
Yeah.
and I didn't know what I certainly didn't know what occupational therapy was, and
Yeah,
so
I worked in a school and our learners were receiving those services.
I
And so,
know.
"Tell me what you're doing so I can carry it
Yeah.
on."
I know, like, "What is this?" And so, I didn't know that those were options, and I don't know that if that's what I'd been exposed to first, if I would've gone into those. Like, I like occupational therapy because I like the sensory component and I like the physiological components, and I was a science major in college, and I feel like the science of, like, the musculature and improving your movements and all of those pieces I find really fascinating. But I've always worked in multidisciplinary models. And so I kind of have taken what I've learned from all the amazing occupational therapists I've worked with, and I integrate that into my behaviorally based framework. And I feel like I've learned, taken time to learn all of the sensory systems and all of that stuff and all, how all of those pieces work because it's something that interests me. So I don't think that like it's not that I can't go back to school and get infinite degrees, so I chose a degree. I'm a teacher also, so I'm a teacher at a BCBA, and I feel like at a certain point, like, I just continue to learn about the things that I'm interested in that are related to ABA and that I then integrate into like, you can never stop learning in our field.
But that you're a teacher too. Going back to you, because teachers also work with kids. So being a teacher and also being a BCBA, what would you share your perspective of being both to people that are considering, should I be a teacher or should I go the BCBA route?
So I had wanted to either be a pediatrician or a teacher my entire life or an actress, and then briefly I wanted to be Katie Couric, but you know, for anyone who doesn't know who Katie Couric is, she was the news anchor in the Today Show in the 90s. But I wanted to be a teacher or a pediatrician mostly. Like I knew I wanted to work with kids. I don't love working with groups of kids. Like I don't never loved the idea, and I've worked in public schools and I've worked in gen ed classes. I don't love the idea of being like the one person who's in charge of 20 children at a time.
Yeah, I
Like
know.
that and I think that that's like when you're trying to figure out if ABA is the right fit or whatever is the right fit, I feel like it's things like that, like, I could do it and it would be fine, but, like, I just didn't I wasn't that into it. I was like, "This isn't fun for me."
Yeah. I know. I like that one to one. It's like, oh my gosh, like you're seeing the progress. You have all the attention. Like you have all my attention, buddy. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, you know, blah, 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 you know? But yeah, that goes back to like how many, because, and also too, everyone, there's paperwork involved. Like, yes, we have a lot of paperwork, but if you only have like 8 students compared to 27 kids, that's a lot
Yeah.
of difference in paperwork needed.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I will say that sometimes, like, I have ABA kids that feel like I'm managing a whole classroom for one kid because they need so much individualized curriculum or materials, and when you do that for a classroom, you do it once for 27 kids and then maybe, like, make some modifications here and there, but you're not, like not making highly individualized things for each individual child. I don't know, it never really, like the idea of having my own classroom. I mean, I had my own classroom. I was a teacher in self-contained classrooms and then in private schools where I had my own classroom, but I always had, like, aides or RBTs or technicians or something as well, so it was always, like, me managing the whole classroom, but then with, like, 6 other adults,
Mhm.
and so it's not the same vibe.
Were you a teacher before you became a BC?
Just a few years because New England Center for Children offers a master's degree through now it's through Simmons University with Simmons College now, and I believe also through Western New England College. Back then it was Northeastern. So they offer one in ABA and they offer one in teaching. And I did the one in teaching. It was very cheap. It was like super easy to do. And then I worked in public schools for a little over a year after that. And then I went and worked at a private school where I was doing the advanced certificate for ABA. So I started that in 2010, finished the school work and field work in 2011, and then became a BCBA in 2012.
Yeah.
So it was all kind of progressive. That makes sense. Like it just like I finished one thing and then started the next thing.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of teachers that are looking to transition, and I get messages all the time like, "Hi, I'm," or they think they have to get their master's in special education in order to become a BCBA. And I've had
Mm.
people that they're like, "Oh, I started my master's in special ed to become a BCBA," and I say, "Unless you have ABA coursework attached to it, if your end goal is to be a BCBA, you're not gonna get a special ed master's. It has unless it has that dual ABA coursework."
Mhm.
And I literally had someone pull herself out of her master's program because she was in her master's program and didn't have ABA. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much. Like, I have to go back and cancel." So she stopped it and she went and applied for a master's in ABA.
Wow. I think you can, because like, I have an advanced certificate in ABA. I don't have a master's in ABA.
Yeah, so it's like
They're getting rid of that pathway. What is it, 2032?
by 2032, they're only gonna take masters. You have to do a
Right.
master's in ABA. So
ABA,
right
correct.
now, if you're considering it, guys, you can hurry up and get the certificate, and start that journey so that before 2032.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 because I feel like that I have mixed feelings about that. I don't know how you feel about that, but
Yeah,
I
I
go
don't
ahead.
I would much rather people come in with, like, a dual concentration. A whole master's in ABA is great, but, like, if you could double dip on, like, a psych in ABA or sped in ABA or counseling in ABA, I don't think they should get rid of it and, like, now require a whole entire master's in ABA. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah, I know. I have mixed feelings because I do think that like other fields, like teaching, speech, OT, PT, in order to do those things, you need a master's to become a master's in the correct subject. A master's in speech, a master's in OT, things like that. They don't have advanced certificates in those fields. And so I like think we're moving in a direction that aligns with similar service providers and similar fields. But I also think that I am a better provider because I have both.
No, absolutely, because 'cause you're having, like you have 2 different professional lenses. Oh, somebody in the chat said, "Do you know if we stop practicing if we lose our license?" So, you don't have to stop. If you wanted to take a break, you could take a break. Once you have your BCBA credential, guys, in order to maintain it, you just have to keep up with your CEUs. You don't have to like, you could be a BCBA and not practice and just maintain your CEUs. You just have to maintain it. And that's another thing, guys, if you are a BCBA, we have to do 32 CEUs every 2 years. Let's say you're coming up on your 2 years and you only have 19 CEUs submitted and you're late and you upload the other ones late, you have to retake the BCBA exam.
I just saw somebody on LinkedIn say that they retook the BC. They took it in like 2015 and then again last year. And they were like, oh my God, it's so much harder.
Girl, it's like 50 something percent passing rate. You're either gonna
Yeah.
pass or fail.
Yeah.
Like, I don't wanna take that exam again.
No, no, no. I'm not a good test taker. I was fine on the BCBA exam, but like the idea of doing that again sounds horrible.
Yeah, so guys, get your CEUs in. You can pay the late fee, but get your CEUs in because you do not wanna try to pass that exam again. When you took your exam, I was the 4th edition, so they're on the 6th edition now.
Yeah.
What edition were you? 'Cause Nicole been
Third.
a BCA for a minute.
Turn up 14 years in a month. I took it in the third edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, I took it back before the BAC kept changing things. I was, like, literally, if you look at the graph of BCBAs, I was, like, right before the explosion.
Yeah. I'm 4 years in as BCBA, so I'm within that so guys, we have 77,000 BCBAs, and within the last 5 years, we've acquired half of them that exist, so the 35,000, because our field is growing exponentially. So I'm literally in that window of that 5-year mark of the BCBAs that half exist.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 and I'm way before that. So my BACB number is 10,000 is in the 10,000s. Because your
Dang,
number, whatever your number is the number BCBA you are.
I'm 121.
121, so that's 1 is that you're a BCBA, 0 means you're a BCABA.
Oh, I didn't know that.
The next digits are the year, so
Oh,
mine is
21.
12.
Can you
Yeah,
do something for me?
yeah. And then the last 5 digits, which will soon be 6 digits,
It's crazy, right?
is what number BCBA you are.
50. Well,
Yeah, so you're
or 8.
yeah, so I'm 10. I
Dang.
know.
I'm 50,000. I'm 50. I'm the 50,000.
No, isn't that crazy? But somebody is literally like 121, 50,000
That's
is
nuts.
their number.
So, you see, guys, we learned something new today. So if you're a
Yeah.
BCBA, let us know what number are you? Are you the 50,000? Are you the 35,000? It'd be
Yeah.
who's exactly who's the halfway mark.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's forever changing because now you can take the exam at
Mhm.
any point. I mean, you couldn't take it you had to take it in specific months when I took it.
It was once a quarter. Yeah, it was 4 times
Yeah.
when I
Yeah.
but I took it during COVID too, so the world was shut down.
Yeah, which is crazy. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Guys, so if you are considering becoming BCBA, please get your CEUs in on time. Don't F that up because then you're gonna be really screwed. But you do not need to be practicing consistently if you're credentialed already. Once you're credentialed, you just have to maintain your credential.
yeah. So, I feel like my head is swimming with like so many thoughts on like what to do when you first. I feel so far removed from first starting.
I know because you're so like we're so deep. Like that's why I love when people ask questions like on socials, like, "Oh, any tips when you're starting home?" Interview questions are really good ones. So, guys, now that the RBTs, if you're a RBT starting next year, 2027, you guys have to maintain your credential just as we do as BCBAs and BCABAs. So,
Mhm.
you guys can actually ask the companies that you guys are interviewing with, do you guys offer PDUs or do you guys reimburse for PDUs or ask them what type of support and mentorship they offer? That's a great question to ask if you guys are starting to come in the field. And
I also
how much supervision, how often you'll be seeing your supervisor? Because bare minimum, we have to do 5% of the treatment hours, but if you are RBT, we have to supervise you 5% of the hours you're working.
think I've been thinking about this a lot recently and to get better answers because I feel like if you could go on an interview and say like, "Oh, how often will I see my supervisor?" I think most companies are going to say, "You'll see them 5% of the time and it'll be great and blah blah blah." They know like the answers they're supposed to give. Also think a question that I would ask would be something like, "Do you have systems in place to ensure that my supervisor comes to my sessions regularly?" Or, like how do you as a company oversee, make sure that the BCBAs are supervising us correctly?
Mhm.
And things like that. Cause I feel like that's going to be a more telling answer and it's going to catch people off guard a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like, so I understand I'm supposed to be supervised 5% of the time. Like, I would say, like, before you go on a job interview or before you decide to go into this field, learn about it. Take some time to learn about it and learn what the expectations are so that you can hold your employer accountable.
Yeah, and also too, guys, you are also have to be held accountable. It's a two-way street. So not only does the company have to be mindful of staying in compliance, especially if they were to get audited, but you also have to protect your butt. So you need to be having your trackers if you're a grad student, collecting your hours. Like you cannot put it all on the company. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. Yeah, that's such a good point. That's such a good point. I think it's like knowing like, do you guys have trackers? How do you guys promote my professional development? But then if you're, let's say a company's great, but they don't promote your professional development, but otherwise, you get supervised, you like your clients, it's easy to do. How are you promoting your professional development? How are you growing? And I think it also is like, what are you looking for in that position? Because there's people who may go in, it's just like you just need a job and you like working with kids and you're good working with kids or you're good working with adults or whatever population you choose to be with.
Hmm.
And if that's what you're looking for, that's great. Just know what you're looking for.
Yeah. And guys, just to be clear too, like you have to be supervised if you are because we have the BACB, that's our board, and the RBT is entry level. You need high school diploma, 40-hour training. You take your assessment,
Take your
you get credentialed, and then there's a bachelor's level, which is the BCABA, which is the board certified assistant behavior analyst, and then there's a master level, which is the BCBA, and then there's also doctorate level. So if you are RBT, that's a credential. So you have to maintain it. But I was never an RBT. And you don't have to be an RBT, guys, to become a BCBA. Okay? I was an ABA therapist and a behavioral technician. So I actually don't have to acquire by the BACB ethics code because I don't have a credential to maintain. But obviously, if you're an ABA, you're going to follow the ethics code because you're underneath the supervision of a BCBA, right? So that's also something to kind of be mindful of too. It's like if you are RBT, you do have to make sure you're getting your supervision. But if you're a behavioral technician or ABA therapist, technically you don't have a credential.
I still feel like you should be
Still, be-
supervised and be trained and all of those things. And I've worked with people who are career BTs, which I think is wonderful.
in the same way that people are career paraprofessionals. And I think that that's great. Maybe it's something, it's a second job, or maybe it's your primary job, whatever the case, however your cards were dealt, and that's what you choose to be, and that's what you enjoy. And maybe those are people who don't need as much supervision, because I've worked with people who've been doing this as long as I have in that role, and they're
Mhm.
really good in that role.
Yeah.
And so they don't need necessarily as much supervision, but I still provide it anyway,
Mhm.
because
Yeah, absolutely.
it's also, I get to see how they're working, what is working. It's still an opportunity to collaborate with. Now, like, I love it when I get people who are like that, who I'm like, oh, you've been doing this for 10 years and you're really good at it. Okay, great. Like, I'm going to come to your sessions more because that's fun for me. And I can, like, we're now partners in this team. Instead of me training you
Mhm.
and providing you support, I'm now like, hey, what's up? What's not working? What programs do you want me to work on? What new programs do you think we need added? I feel like it creates a whole different vibe that is equally valuable and great. Like, I don't know. I think that, well, it's a hard place to stay forever because the financial component is not very financially stable as a
Mhm.
BT. But I think it's like a great, if that's what you enjoy doing and you just want to work with kids and you don't want to do all the like mental labor of all of it, I feel like it's like a great job.
Yeah, but to piggyback off of what you said, right? Because as BCBAs, right, like we could have staff that we feel confident in, like, oh yeah, they definitely know what they're doing, but they still want feedback,
Yeah.
right? It's like just because we have these high expectations, like, oh yeah, she knows what she's doing, da da da, like still supervise, still
Yeah.
give me feedback, guys, as a BCBA, right? Ask open-ended questions, get their feedback for, like, hey, is this working? Like, do you think like we should pause this, or like, what's a program that's your least favorite to run?
Yeah.
Because you never stop learning. And that's another thing. When you're in the field for a minute, you could easily be like, "Okay, I know what I'm doing." Right?
Right.
And like, "Oh, yeah," like but no, things are constantly changing, and your approach might drift a little bit, but it's always good to kind of, like, still have those check-ins and, like, know, like, "Hey, I got you," and acknowledging it in a way that you're bringing awareness of that you're seeing what they're doing.
Mhm.
'Cause like I said, when you're working with a staff that you feel confident in, like, maybe you're not giving as much feedback, but still give them feedback.
Mhm.
They still
Yeah,
wanna be
still pay
heard.
attention to them. They still want to feel valued and that their work is meaningful and that their work is important, just the same as anybody else does. Just because they don't need as much attention or focus, because you don't need to treat, you're not like, oh my God, they don't know how to run the program.
Mhm,
Doesn't mean they don't need supervision and oversight and support in a different way.
mhm,
I think it's also, another thing I've been thinking about with ABA as compared to some of the similar fields
yeah,
is there's not many other opportunities to either work with children or work with adults or work in hospitals, or, like, kind of work in these like human services fields without an advanced degree. And I think like ABA is a place, like, if you're considering like, oh, I want to work with this type of population, ABA is a really great place to start there, because you can't be a speech therapist until you have a master's. You can be a speech therapy assistant, but you need a bachelor's and training and field work and all of that to do that. Same with being a certified occupational therapy assistant. Like, I feel like all of these other spaces, there isn't like this entry level position.
yeah, and you know what that reminds me of? A lot of, grad students that have their bachelor's or they're going for their bachelor's in psych, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, "I can't find nothing with it," and it's like, yeah, if you guys are coming into the mental health space, guys, a bachelor's degree is like a high school diploma. Like, you have to get
I
your
know.
have to keep going, and even after your master's, sometimes you still have to go.
I know.
So, if you are getting your major in psych, your bachelor's, and you're going to school for your master's in psych, a lot of psych professionals will add the ABA coursework so that they can scoop up the BCBA credential, because that's, like, one of the fastest credentials going in that route so that you can start getting paid good money while you're still on your way to become a clinical psych or school psych or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also something to keep in mind if you're, like, starting to come in the field and you're kind of considering, like, psych or another, you know, figure out what you need to kind of scoop up some type of credential to start earning some big big girl money
Yeah.
while you're still on your way to finishing that schooling part.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Someone
That's such a good idea.
someone said, "Would you recommend a doctorate for ABA?" What's your take? People ask me all the time, but, like, I don't really care to go back to school for my doctorate unless the school wanna gives me a doctorate, a honorary one, but, like, I'm not gonna be doing any research, want to be a professor out of college, so I honestly don't feel like I would want to go back for my master's in ABA, and if I did get my doctorate, it would be, like, in a different field.
Yeah, I mean, I have no capacity to get more degrees,
Yeah, me too. You
and
really don't need a doctorate, to be honest, guys, to make money.
yeah, you don't need a doctorate to be an ABA. I actually think what I find limiting about the BCBA credential, I think that there's two things. The first is that what I do in ABA, so I work with, kids with ADHD, with anxiety, kids who are not yet diagnosed. A lot of other credentials in the mental health services can get that covered through insurance. ABA, the way that insurance works right now and the way that a lot of our funding comes is largely for autism. My professional goal in life is to get that expanded because ABA is based on the principles. It's not only a treatment for autism. And so I think that that's sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I had I was a psychologist, I had a PsyD or a PhD, or I was a social worker or a speech therapist, solely because the populations that I work with don't have as much funding.
Mhm.
Not because I feel, and if I had a PhD, I guess if I had a PhD in ABA, it would be the same thing because it's not a psychologist.
No, no, because you can't diagnose. I mean, some say that you could diagnose with a BCBAD, but it's like
Yeah, so I don't know if I could do what I do with, this is spam, apologies. I don't know if I could do what I do with a PhD in ABA. I don't think it would make a difference. I think the issue is the BCBA is limited by our funding right now. I think in 10, 15 years, that's going to look different.
yeah, I do too.
The other piece of where I think for the BCBA is, it's not, oh my God, what was my second part? What was my second point? Oh my gosh. So my first point was the funding piece, and the second piece that I find limiting, I don't know.
Why you think of it so Celeste said that's also why she wanted to do both social work and BCBA. Social
Yeah.
work/policy work is so important, and it is. And I love that you mentioned the policy work, right? Because, like, I'm also getting more involved into the policy making and helping evolve and expand the field. So if you guys don't know, here in Connecticut, I was able to amend the Connecticut State Practice Book to include behavior analysts, but also expand other mental health providers for us to actually support children and family law to become guardian ad litems. So that is completely outside of the medical model, but this is an avenue for us to help support in another modality in the family and criminal justice realm. My undergrad is also in criminal justice, guys. So my undergrad was not in psych or anything related like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought of what my second detractor of not having a PhD was, or where I find just having a BCBA limiting. I think that this happens across all fields, not just ABA.
Mhm.
It is hard to become a reputable source in the field when you are not able to do research. And you can't do research it's hard to do research unless you are affiliated with a university. And it's hard to get published unless you are affiliated with a university. And then it's hard. I mean, that whole paper that just came out, there was a paper that came out in the last year, right?
Yeah.
That was basically you need to have published articles in order to be a presenter.
Yeah. An expert.
An expert, in order to be considered an expert in something. And I would love to be publishing more papers and doing more studies, but that is free labor for me because there's no way that I can get paid to do that.
Mhm. Yeah.
And actually I could, because I actually am an adjunct at Hunter College. I have a very unique situation. But it's very hard. It's very hard because I don't have that much research experience. I have some research experience, not a ton. It's very hard to go into that on my own free will. And that's been a huge barrier for me, that I lack the supports needed to be able to go into research, to then be able to become an quote unquote expert in the things that I do every single day and the things that I have spent hours learning about, researching, practicing, showing success, showing social validity for, because I'm not able to get experimental control to prove it.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's where a PhD, like that's where I wish I had a PhD, because I feel like then I would be better at research and be able to do it faster, but it's
And
limited.
that's a big thing in our field too, guys, because there was an article that came out and they analyzed all the speakers at these conferences, all the state ABA conferences, and I forgot what the percentage was, but like, I don't know. Do you remember what the percentage was? Like a percentage of them or people that actually have published articles. So that's who they consider in our field experts. But what about all of us that are on the grounds working hands on, right? Are we not considered experts? So there's kind of like a big thing, a thing in our field, and you'll kind of start seeing it. And that's why I think it's so important for us to have like spaces like this to discuss about it, because I absolutely consider myself expert. We went to school, we've been supporting our learners for a long time, especially in verbal behavior. Like that is my jam, right? It's like, okay, yeah, you're doing the research, I'm learning from your research and I'm applying the research, right? But like that doesn't mean that I I can't speak at conferences because I don't have something published, right? And there's a lot of conferences too that are like pointing that out. It's like you don't have to be published, have something published in order for you to be considered an expert to speak at this type of conference.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I pulled up the article, and they talk about how 31% of speakers had zero
31.
topic-specific publications.
Yep, 30%. Yep, 31.
Notably, the percentage of speakers with zero topic-specific publications concerningly increased across 3 years. 40% of speakers had did not have any peer-reviewed publications at all, which like would technically be me if I'm a speaker. But I've been doing what I do for almost 20 years, and I think I'm pretty good at it. And it's not, like the things that I speak about, people then go back and apply, and it changes lives.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's like, so if you didn't, nobody else is talking about what I talk about.
Yeah.
And so if you limited it, there's so many barriers. This is a whole other discussion. But I think that there's a lot of barriers in our field. And I think this exists across academia and training anywhere. But it's really hard to get into research, and it's really hard to become a published person. There's like, I would be interested to see what the statistics are of like out of the number of BCBAs, how many are published, and then how many have more than one publication. Like I know people who had their thesis published, and that's it. Because now that they're done, they're working in the field, and that's it. And so how many people are published, and are we then limiting ourselves to only learning from 10% of BCBAs by saying they have to be published? It's very hard. Like universities don't pay very well. That might not be something that people want to go into. People might not want to be teaching. They might not want to work in that type of space. And then it limits us to only people who are in those spaces to be considered our experts. And so like that, for me, that's something I'm working to change. And it's like great to see lots of other people working to change. And I think that goes back to our growing pains, that these are the things that we are working through right now. And these are the controversies and difficulties that we experience. And if you're not ready you don't want to deal with that, this is a baby field. This is the stuff we got to deal with.
No, yeah, I agree 100%. And I know that we'll get there. It just takes time.
Yeah.
Anything.
Exactly.
Evolution. But I got to get going. We're going to have a call, and we'll carry over this discussion, guys.
Yeah, but this is a great episode. And please like, subscribe, share, follow us. That is how you get us to make more content, how you get our message out, how you help support the things. If you like what we said and you want more people to hear it, that's the way to do it.